So it's the 12th of December. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Frontier Opening Bell. Let's get started. And of course, you know, the big story already across Africa had to do with Ethiopia defaulting on that $33 million so of payments to bondholders. That puts Ethiopia in the same loop with Ghana so far this year, defaulting on Eurobond payments, commercial debt, as it were. That's no good news for Africa as we wrap up the year 2023. You see the final days. Again, that puts Ethiopia and Ghana in the same box with Zambia, which defaulted on its commercial bonds and subject of conversation with the IMF, the Chinese, and a lot of others. It's no good news, as it were, for the African sovereigns as far as debt was concerned so far this year. But let's walk you, as always, starting with the markets. The Egypt stock market started the rest of the week with the rest of us on the continent with 0.03% down at 20,324 on the EGX30. But you look at the Nigerian market starting with 18 basis points, roughly 90 billion naira added to the total market value. The BRVM was closed for Monday, finished off Friday 0.63% in the green. Then you've got the Nairobi stock market stepping out in the new week with about 0.1% in the negative 33.93.86 on the OSHA index. The South African market was up by 14 basis points, despite the decline that we saw more than 1% in resources index of the GSC, 73,892. The rest of the developed markets and emerging markets finished off risk on. That's what everybody were talking about on Monday. That pushed the dollar slightly down a little bit. Gold also fell below $2,000 an ounce as at the end of Monday trading. Oil prices begin to climb up early today as traders and investors around the world keeps a permanent eye on the U.S. Fed meeting starting today. We expect to hear from Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, later in the evening, 7:30 Nigerian time tomorrow. Then you've got the ECB and the Bank of England making those their rate decisions for the final time this year on Thursday. It's going to be rate this week. So all eyes on the central banks, major central banks around the world for this week. Quite a bit on the table, by the way. But let's just get onto the East Africa's top stories. What's making the headlines, by the way, from East Africa? Ethiopia, of course, as you know, has joined Zambia and Ghana as debt defaulters on the continent. But Shatter Afrique, which is now very structured as a development bank, says it's looking to develop Islamic housing finance products to join the existing portfolio of products to support affordable housing on the continent. Somalia, good news. $4.5 billion debt rejig relief from the World Bank and the IMF supporting that one of Africa's struggling economy. That's something that is good news for the Somalia's central bank. We got President Museveni of Uganda quietly, according to sources, sent his son-in-law, who's also his trade advisor to the United States over plans by the US to remove Uganda from AGOA. That's the Africa's Growth and Opportunities Act, which is about to come to an end in just about 2 years from now. But whether the President Biden's administration will renew that before the 2024 presidential elections in the U.S. is anyone's guess. We're keeping an eye on that. Tigo in Tanzania has won the fastest mobile network in that country for the year 2023. Congratulations. In the meantime, the energy minister in Tanzania has approved 75% interest of a Tanga oil block and been transferred to Octant Energy of Tanzania. Both all the parties are within the Tanzania's economy, President Suluhu's economy. Let's get on to West Africa and look at Nigeria. It's all about Naira cash scarcity at the ATM. That's going on before the end of the year. The central bank under Cardoso yesterday, the new central bank governor, talked about removal or suspension until the end of April next year, just roughly 5 months suspension. If you bring large deposits as a bank customer, cash to be deposited, the initial limit has now been removed and there'll be no fees to be paid for those cash deposits. But you got good news, by the way, for Nigeria. $15 million is what the British international investment, the BRI, that's UK's investment, private sector lending arm, will give to Valenci International, which is a Singapore-based organization to pump into Nigeria's agri value chain, in particular for cashew production, refining, processing, as well as warehousing business. That's some foreign direct investment that Nigeria could use. Access Bank has now gotten approval from the Hong Kong's market authority to put his hoist his flag in Hong Kong as the first Nigerian commercial bank to be approved as a commercial bank in Hong Kong. That approval came through Access Bank of United Kingdom. And it's been a very busy week. We're expecting today the result of the Nigerian bond auction, which the Debt Management Office conducted on Monday. There's another auction on Wednesday. Then, of course, you've got Wema Bank, one of Nigeria's oldest commercial bank and the Tier 2 lender, floating about 8.57 billion ordinary shares rights issue, asking existing shareholders to buy up this new offer at about 4 naira 66 kobo, and that's on the market. That offer rights issue will be closing on the 29th of December, just about 2 weeks on the market. So IMF and Togo says they've reached a staff level agreement to support this small West African country around its economic policies and reforms that the country is going through. And then from the month of October, we got UMO's industrial production output about 10.4%. That's quite big for those French-speaking countries in West Africa. Let me walk you through the Southern Africa, and of course the whole news is around ESCOM changing its chief executives, and you have a new CEO now in the saddle, and that's Dan Marokane, who is appointed to take over and try to find a new horizon for this troubled utility giant, whose problems, including those of Transnet, had impacted South Africa's economy. South Africa is picking Russia's Gazprom Bank as Petrocel's refinery partner. That's all about that. Of course, we've got news also that South Africa's electricity minister has got some deals together, which is being announced. Malawi reporting trade deficit narrowing to about $528 million thereabout in the third quarter ended September, while Zambia may get $184 million IMF package by the end of the month, despite the delay in that a debt, what they call a DSS framework for debt rejigging that Zambia has been working on for the last 2 years under President Hakainde Hichilema. That deal is still being delayed. Just as the news out of Ghana as well, the delay therefore is debt rejigging. But let's finish off in North Africa, my friends, and see what the headlines are. Of course, the elections going on. President Al-Sisi has his heart in the ring for the third time and is looking set to win the presidential elections. That will clear the new year, 2024, horizon for President Al-Sisi to move on with those much-needed crunching reforms that the IMF is asking for to further support the North Africa's largest economy. Annual urban inflation came in about 34.6% in the month of November, while Egypt is looking to raise minimum wage to $113 per month, effective from January 2024. Still in North Africa, Morocco is considering income tax cuts in 2025 for a state budget, while the country says its total investments in the agriculture sector for this year is about $355.4 million. And finally, the UN Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD, says the global trade is expected to slump this year by 5%. And those are your headlines. This Tuesday, the second trading day of the week. I am boasting them. If I go online on our social media, you can watch all our shows again, as well as Frontier Opening Bell. And of course, follow us across all social media platforms. We'll be glad to hear from you. Thank you, and I'll see you.